Welcome back, guys. Well, last video that you guys saw was obviously Easter, and the one right before that was the tiller broke when I was going to rototill the garden up before we put it in, but got the tiller fixed. So we threw the garden in, talk about a couple quick hacks, and come along. Well, I got that tiller fixed. Turned out it was the prime bulb, and that was it. Got the carburetor all cleaned out the air filter, and that thing ran like a champ. Got the thing all tilled up. So I did a couple quick things. Thanks to Living Traditions Homestead and their suggestion to use weed barrier. I put some of that weed barrier down between the raised beds. And I'll show you guys. I'm using raised beds to help kind of drain the soil a little easier so it doesn't turn into a big sloppy mess. But let's talk about that urban homesteading and using what you got. So down here in California, we had a little postage size house. And we have more yard than most people do in a lot of places down here. So we made use of what we had. So we started out in apartments when we were newly married. And I built planter boxes. We built, we grew tomatoes and peppers and whatnot in those planter boxes using pots. So a lot of people that live in condos or apartments, they'll do whatever they can, use whatever dirt they have available, and they plant vegetables that way. So that's a way to be self-sufficient, and by doing it that way, just making use of what you have. Now with this garden right here, you guys will see the size of the plot that we have here, and it works. So it's not super huge. Okay, well there's the whole yard, but in this little plot right here, we're able to grow a lot of vegetables. And it got to a point with when we started canning was that, the garden was half this size. We were only able to put a couple of plants in the ground because we'd be overwhelmed with all the produce. So, I want to grow more now. We want to be able to eat this stuff during the wintertime. Don't want to go to the grocery store during the winter and be paying exorbitant prices for fresh vegetables and whatnot. Green beans, we love green beans. You see my green bean trellis right back there. We love green beans. I started canning it. Like, let's just can this stuff. It's cheap, it's easy, it's it's fun. So making use of what you got, guys, that's one of the first lessons of homesteading. It's making use of what you got. Urban homesteading. You might not be out on a piece of property, but you can definitely use your backyard. You're in a condo, you're in an apartment. Make planter boxes. Do whatever you can and make use of what you got. Almost done. Couple more passes. It's an older model, so it starts to get hot and I don't want it to shut down. It's probably going to be time for a new head or something on it at some point, but it still does the job. As you guys can see, I know a lot of people are going to call that a cultivator, not an actual true rototiller. And you're probably right, because it's meant for small plots and for cultivating and for aerating the dirt. But it works great for my purposes here. Yeah. So just a quick thought about that little machine right there. It's a Mantis. I got it at Home Depot out of the tool rental area. Now, occasionally, somebody on another channel had made a comment about buying used tools from rental yards, and I completely agree with that. Those rental places will take care of their equipment, and they'll give them regular oil changes and clean them and make sure they're running in tip-top shape so they don't have any downtime with their customers. So Home Depot does the same thing, and occasionally they sell their stuff. Well, I put my name on the list for a used Mantis, and I think that's the 18-inch or the 20-inch wide tines. They have a smaller one, but I wanted one about this size, and it's a 4-stroke, so you don't have to mix your oil and your gas. Well, they finally called me. I want to say that's a $500 or $600 machine new, and I think I paid $250 for it. I would rent one time a year. That was like 50 bucks for the day. So maybe I think I only paid $250 for it. Maybe 200 bucks. I forget. Anyway, thing runs great. I'm working it pretty hard though, so at some point I'm gonna have a tractor with a big rototiller on the back and I'll have a great big garden, and this thing will only be used for flower beds or whatnot and small stuff. But for my small plot of ground right here in my urban homestead, it works just fine. So I've already had this thing for 5 years, and it's already paid for itself by buying a used tool. So anyway, check it out, guys. It's a Mantis. Great little. Making the walkways. Weed control fabric. Vigoro comes in all sizes and shapes. This is a 4 foot by 50 foot, and I'm gonna have 24-inch walkways. So we're gonna fold it in half and then stretch it out. Alright guys, check that out. So I laid that weed barrier down in between the pathways. I'm so tired of weeding in between the rows while we have our garden. I don't know why I never thought about putting down weed barrier in the rows where we walk. So I've always put the bricks down as a way to walk when it's, you know, if we're gonna be out there in the morning time after it's still wet or whatnot. But so I put the weed barrier down, made my rows. Now these are raised rows, like a raised bed. It helps to drain a little better. You guys that are long-time gardeners know what that's all about. It's like a raised bed. And I put the bricks on there. We can walk on it in case it gets a little bit muddy or whatever. And we can harvest and all that stuff. So we're gonna start planting. We're ready. It's got the dirt's all aerated and fluffed up, and it's got plenty of amendment. And I've put compost in this thing for 10 years. So that dirt is just super, super rich. And I just need to start planting. So I'm gonna go put the starts in. I'm gonna put the bean pole pound my my form stakes in the middle of the row, and then I'm going to screw my frame up to the beam stake. I'm sorry, to the form stake. I'm going to screw that to it, and then plant my beans right there. So let the planting begin. Alright guys, as you can see, we used this weed barrier. I'm using the weed barrier in my 2 walkways. This is going to go down between the rows. And then thanks to the Fit Farmer had made a suggestion about 30-inch wide rows. You can go down to 24, as he said, but 30 inch at the widest. That way, if you have to, you can step over it. So, you know, I want to walk along. I put the stepping stones in here in case it gets a little bit muddy. And then, of course, using the raised beds. You know, these beds aren't that high. And then, of course, here's my bean pole stake. So I pounded those stakes down in the ground, and then I used some screws to screw my boards to it. String up the string. Good to go. So we've got green beans right there. I've got 3 sets of cauliflower. Really loving the cauliflower. Got cucumbers. We got squash. We got some watermelon. Over there, I got a zucchini coming up. My carrots are already starting to come up. 3 types of tomatoes, and then my peppers over there. And then we got some onions coming in over here. So we have quite a bit. We have enough to make our salsas. We're going to can some salsa, can some tomatoes. We're going to freeze some cauliflower this year. I'm going to chop it up and vacuum pack it. So this year we're going to try a couple of things. In addition to canning our vegetables, we're going to vacuum seal, vacuum pack, and freeze some of our vegetables, like the cauliflower. I love cauliflower. And it freezes really, really well. We usually buy the mixed bags with carrots and cauliflower and broccoli in them. And this year we're going to take, when you grow cauliflower, those of you that know, it produces quite a pretty large head pretty quickly, and it's a lot of cauliflower to eat at one time. So we're going to break that up and we're going to try and freeze it along with some carrots this year. So we'll can our green beans. We're going to can tomatoes, and I'll probably make a little bit of salsa and can that as well. And then, of course, our fresh zucchini and butternut squash that we're going to have. We eat that right off the vine. You know, put it on the griller or steam it or whatever. So, all right, guys, thanks for coming along. That's going to be the first part of our urban homesteading and disaster preparedness is the garden. That's the #1 key, is making your own fresh vegetables, growing your own fresh vegetables and whatnot, and then putting it up for storage. So that'll be the next. One of the next videos coming up is putting up your food and preserving your food, and that'll be canning. And a lot of people didn't, you used to be the moms and the grandmas that did all the canning. Well, I'm the one that does the canning. Olivia helps, but I grew up doing that, so I know how to do it. And we're going to do a whole series, an intro to canning, and hopefully that those of you that have never really done it before, you'll be encouraged to try it out, and you'll see it's not that expensive. You buy a couple of the initial products to begin with. And after that, it's cheap. It saves you a ton of money over the long run. So, all right, guys, thanks for coming along. Thanks for joining. If you like it, please hit that like button, subscribe, share it. Please leave your comments and let me know what you think, and if anything we can do better. So, thanks for coming along for the ride, guys.